First speaker is Dr. Rosa Jalal. Please write the name down. She is the wife of the Indonesian ambassador. She herself is extremely prominent in Washington. She's the president of the most important women's association, the Muslim Women's Association of Washington, D.C., which has dozens of ambassadors' wives and all kinds of activists. They are very, very busy organizing events in D.C. She's also the successful head of her own company in Indonesia. So here you have a very successful businesswoman in her own right, a diplomat, an activist, and today speaking to you as a scholar. So with that, since we have a very packed morning before us, I'm going to request Madam Ambassador to come and give her presentation.
The world's third largest democracy on the move. The nation's epic journey from revolution to modernity. From political turbulence to stability. From despair to renewed hope. From economic crisis to solid growth. Indonesia celebrates a new era, a decade of democracy and transformation. A land of endless beauty, a people of infinite strength and dynamism. A haven of freedom and harmony. A nation whose time has come. Resourceful, resilient, rising, remarkable Indonesia.
Join us on our journey of opportunities and progress.
Well, that's Indonesia. Just a glimpse I saw you. If you want to know more, I have a longer version of Indonesian beauty, scenery, and our natural resources. So I would like to say thank you for my friend Sheila Switzer and her husband for coming. And I bring my Indonesian ladies organizations, Ibu Susi, Ibu Sinta, and Ibu Devi to help me here. Thank you also for coming. I'm pleased to be here with you today to speak about the contemporary role of women and Islam in Indonesia. And before I begin, let me ask you, is there any Indonesian students here? No? Oh my God, so bad. No, because I know that many Indonesian students study in American university. Today, I will speak to you about the role of women and in Islam in Indonesia democracy. It is a relevant subject if we consider what is happening throughout the Islamic world today. And of all the issues facing the Islamic world, the challenge of women's empowerment, in my view, will be critical to the social, economic, and political progress of the Ummah in the 21st century. And on the one hand, Muslim women have to address some of the misperceptions and stereotypes about them, but on the other hand, they're also emerging as important agents of change. Muslim women worldwide generally remain spiritual and Islamic, but many are becoming more assertive in society, in the economy, and in politics. They're constantly looking for new boundaries to push. And here, Indonesia offers plenty of useful lessons and examples. Indonesia is the country with the largest Muslim population in the world. There are more Muslims in Indonesia than in the entire Middle East. And it has been so for centuries. Indonesia is also a place where gender equality and emancipation has made significant progress in the 20th century and even before that in some parts of Indonesia. And Indonesia is also the world's third largest democracy by population after India and United States. So Indonesia has all the three elements that we are discussing today: democracy, Islam, and the role of women. But Indonesia is relevant and unique because Indonesia combines all these three elements together in positive energy. For example, in the beginning of our democratic transition, a woman, Megawati Soekarno Putri, was elected vice president in 1999. and then she was elected as president in the year 2000. Yes, there were some conservative voices who argued that a woman could not become a president, but the overwhelming majority of the population did not have a problem with that at all. Indonesia also has a number of women in the cabinet, 4 in the current cabinet and 4 in the last one, and even more so in parliament, military, police, business, media, and civil society. Of course, this is not to say that Indonesia is problem-free when it comes to women's issues. We still have plenty of problems: trafficking of women, domestic abuse and exploitations, access to education, lack of economic opportunities, and so on. But ideologically, spiritually, philosophically, socially, and culturally, Indonesians have an open, positive, and progressive attitude when it comes to gender equality and empowerment. This is why Indonesia is one of the few countries which has a Department for Women's Affairs. And indeed, Secretary Clinton has stated when she visited Indonesia in 2009 that if you want to know Islam, democracy, modernity, and women's rights can coexist, go to Indonesia. Indeed, the case of Indonesia is both relevant and unique. Indonesia has the 4th largest population in the world, one of the world's most ethnically diverse nations. We have more than 300 ethnicities and more than 300 local languages in Indonesia. Indonesia is a nation which embraces Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Confucianism as state religions, and a nation that cherishes moderation, tolerance, and pluralism. This is a country where for centuries Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, and others lived side by side in peace. The tradition of respect and harmony has therefore been part of the Indonesian DNA and our national identity for a long time. It is important to note that Islam came to Indonesia centuries ago, not by force, but by trade. This partly explains why Islam happily coexisted with other religions in my country. And Islam also blended very well with our local cultures. One interesting example is the Minang ethnic group in Sumatra. Sumatra is one of Indonesia's largest islands. We have more than 17,000 islands in Indonesia and only 6,000 islands inhabited. Minang is where my husband, Ambassador Dino Jalal, come from. And the Minang ethnic is known as the most conservative Islamic society in Indonesia. But it's also a place ruled by women, a matriarchal society. In Minang, women are the head of the family. They own the house, they own the land, and in marriage, Minang women propose to the man, but not in my case, excuse me. I'm not come from Minang, my husband, so I don't have to propose to him. Women in Minang also make political and social decisions, which they do very well in a very democratic manner in the age-old transitions of consensus. Minang women show that religiosity and responsibility go together. My husband also liked to point out that perhaps because the role of women is so prominent there, the Minang people over decades remain the most democratic and consensus-based society in Indonesia, even during the authoritarian era. The democratic reformacy or reformation era that began after the downfall of President Suharto's New Orders regimes in 1999 brought about a sea change to social, political, and economic life in Indonesia. Many people outside Indonesia predicted the rise of Islamic political parties, which did happen, and subsequent degradation of democratic pluralism in Indonesia. Many commentators are also predicting this outcome in Egypt, Tunisia, and Libya following their democratic revolutions. Nevertheless, Indonesia never inched closer to becoming an Islamic state. In fact, we became an even stronger multicultural and multi-religious democracy. In our most recent national election in 2009, Islamic parties collectively received only 24% of the vote. This is particularly significant considering that 88% of Indonesia's population is Muslim. In other words, Indonesians make their political choice based on a wide range of factors and considerations, and religion is only one of them, but not the only consideration. This also means that Muslim politicians will not be able to collect vote just on the argument that he or she is Muslim by religion. He or she must have a credible platform that would appeal to the voters. Thus, Indonesia has demonstrated there is no reason why Islamic values and beliefs cannot be reconciled with democratic principles and ideals. Indeed, we have shown that Islam, modernity, and democracy can flourish together. Moreover, Indonesian women continue to play a vital role in burgeoning democracy, as well as our dynamic economy. As I have said earlier, just 2 years into our democratic era, Indonesia elected female president in 2001, President Megawati Soekarno Putri. But significantly, Indonesians did not just accept female politicians. We encourage and push it systemically. In our most recent national elections, a record number of women were elected to DPR, or Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat. It's Indonesia's legislative body. In fact, there are a higher proportion of women in Indonesia's legislative branch than there are in the United States Congress. You go figure that one out. And this may surprise you.
I hope you guys are writing all this down because these are really great statistics. So please write all this down.
And this may surprise you, but this is also true of the legislative bodies in Muslim majorities countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Senegal. Despite these significant positive developments in Indonesia, it also remains true that in part of the Islamic world, women have been and continue to be marginalized, sidelined, and sometimes oppressed. We heard stories of gender discrimination in some Muslim societies. We heard how women were treated under Taliban rule in Afghanistan. And we just heard from Professor about the Saving Face movie about husband throwing acids to their wives in rural part in Pakistan. And in Afghanistan also, women prohibited from leaving their homes and going to school. We heard about women being stoned for committing adultery in Africa. We cannot deny that these were happening and are still going on. Many of these stories, in turn, feed negative stereotypes and misconceptions about Islam and lead non-Muslims to reduce the image of Muslim and Muslim women into simplistic caricature. They fail to recognize that within the Islamic world too, there is a strong disagreement and criticisms with regard to the plight of some Muslim women, as in the case of stoning, for example. I believe that in many of these cases, the problem faced by women can be attributed to either local culture or social habits or political manipulation or a combination of them. In some cases, cultural practice must be differentiated from religious dogma. Believe me, there's nothing in Holy Quran that says women cannot drive a car. And in other cases, it had to do with a narrow and skewed interpretation of Islam by political elite. And sometimes it also has to do with a rigid patriarchal mindset that is also prevalent in non-Muslim societies. In some societies, there are also debates about Muslim women who choose to wear headscarf. I noticed that some in the West even frown at them. At the Indonesian embassy, we have women diplomats who wear headscarves. They wear the headscarf not because it is imposed by regulations or by their husband, but because it is a matter of personal choice. And they wear it proudly as a badge of religiosity. The Indonesian government does not have a say in that personal choice. And as president of Muslim Women Association of Washington, D.C., some people with good intention remark that I do not fit the profile of typical Muslim women. In response, I usually ask, what do you expect me to look like? I say, because I do consider myself to be a typical Muslim woman. I pray, I fast, I study the Quran, and most importantly, I adhere to the 5 pillars of Islam. I may not conform to a specific image that some people have of Muslim women, but that is because the stereotype does not match reality. Overall, therefore, I believe we can reject the notion that gender inequality is an inherent symptom of Islam. Yes, women in Muslim countries face discriminations as a result of their gender, but Islam is not the underlying cause for this discrimination. Unfortunately, we live in a world where gender discrimination is still all too common for Muslim and non-Muslim women alike. It would be a mistake to make broad generalizations about the role of Muslim women in Islam based on individual cases or even individual cultures. The Islamic world is a very heterogeneous world. There are approximately 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, and they live in every country and every type of society on earth. So, just as one pastor in Florida who burns Quran does not represent the views of every American, and the action of one deranged Norwegian man does not represent the values of every European. Extremists in the Islamic world do not represent the views and values of every Muslim. Likewise, many cases of gender discrimination in Muslim-majority countries are a symptom of repressive culture or even repressive individuals who pervert Islam when they wrongfully commit these crimes in its name. But it is not a symptom of the Islamic faith itself. And in the 21st century, Muslim women have plenty of opportunities and tools to push the boundaries in their favor. For example, in 2011, Nobel Peace Prize winner awarded to Tawakkol Karman, a Muslim woman who became the international face of Yemeni uprising, known in her country as the Iron Woman and the mother of the revolution. Karman was the first Arab woman, the second Muslim woman, and the youngest person ever to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. The barriers and boundaries are still there, but they are less formidable than before for women to bring down. One of my priorities as president of Muslim Women Association is to build bridges between Muslim and non-Muslim in America. As a Muslim woman, I'm part of majority religion in Indonesia and part of religious minority in the United States. As a result, I feel a strong sense of responsibility to promote mutual empathy, respect, and understanding between the Muslim world and the American people. Moreover, we cannot expect to address these misconceptions about Muslim women and that I described if we do not engage with people outside our respective community. Above all, however, I do not wish to pass judgment on others, because in Indonesia we have this saying, when you point one finger to another one, 3 other fingers in your hand point at yourself. I am more concerned with what can be done for our future. And here the fact is that in the 21st century, there are a variety of ways by which Muslim women can achieve empowerment locally, nationally, and globally. First, democracy. Democracy, for instance, represents one of the most effective means for women to achieve empowerment. Democracy offers the most effective structural fix because, as every politician knows, in a democracy where universal suffrage applies, every vote counts. And about half of those votes come from women. In Indonesia, 90% of the population are voting, and 57% of the voters are women. So women is really playing a significant role in Indonesia's democracy. This naturally changes the political dynamics and changes the political role of women in Islamic societies. This is also why in Indonesia, Bangladesh, Turkey, and Pakistan, women have been elected to president and prime ministers and ministers in cabinets. Likewise, in Muslim-majority countries such as Malaysia, Nigeria, and Kyrgyzstan, women have been appointed into the cabinet, become director generals, or CEOs and ambassadors. Most importantly, when things are achieved by democratic means, it means that it is being achieved without imposition and peacefully. Second, education. Education is another crucial means for Muslim women around the world to fulfill their potential. A significant part of the marginalization of Muslim women can be traced to a lack of opportunities in education. Millions of Muslim women were locked in poverty and were left behind in the progress that was achieved by others. Education is critical in the empowerment of Muslim women. And to the weak, the poor, and the voiceless, education is a tremendous liberating force. Education is especially critical in a world where skills will be the most important asset of social mobility. Assuring Muslim girls throughout the Islamic world of their right to an education will lead to a dramatic elevation in the status of women. It is crucial, therefore, for governments to have policies in education that ensure that girls will have adequate access to education. The education of women and girls is also imperative in the fight against terrorism. The role that Muslim women play in fighting radicalism and terrorism is often overlooked, but it shouldn't be underestimated. Indeed, Muslims believe that heaven is found at the soles of mothers' feet. Thus, in the family, an educated and loving mother can be the most effective antidote for children who are at risk of joining terrorism or radicalism. There are numerous cases where, if a family is torn between a kind mother who teaches her children peace and respect for life, and an extremist father who preaches hatred and violence, the child is likely to be followed the mother's path. This is why women play a critical role in the future of the world, and also why empowering Muslim women through education is so important. There can be no peace in the world without good, loving mothers. In order for Muslim women to succeed in their respective communities and societies, the third one is economic opportunity. Economic opportunity is imperative. There are many ways to increase economic opportunity, but one of the most relevant and powerful is microfinance. In countries like Bangladesh and Indonesia, microfinance has transformed not only women borrowers, but also families and communities. Over 500,000 enterprises in Indonesia are headed by women. And microfinance is a crucial means of starting and expanding these small and medium enterprises. Most of these loans are in the range of $50 to $200, which sounds insignificant to us here, but means a world of opportunity to women mired in poverty. Indeed, microfinance institutions in Indonesia are already showing a preference for female borrowers because female borrowers have proved to be remarkably disciplined borrowers who keep to their obligation. Non-performing loans among women borrowers are extremely low. On another level, it is also time that Muslim women worldwide catch on with a global trend that is making waves everywhere: entrepreneurship. I passionately believe in this because I count myself as a Muslim woman entrepreneur, having built my own dental clinic in Jakarta. I have 2 dental clinics now and 1 beauty salon. It's for fun for beauty salon. To embrace entrepreneurship, Muslim women need to change their mindset from job seeker to job creator. Entrepreneurship will be a key driver of change in the 21st century, and it is critical that women, including Muslim women, do not miss this window of opportunity. Indeed, the signs are encouraging. In the Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, and other regions, a new generation of women is taking the lead, accumulating capital and becoming formidable corporate players, some joining the ranks of the world's billionaires. And they remain good Muslims. I believe we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg, but this is a trend that we need to sustain. 4, the social reforms. The social reforms that we have seen take place around the world also represent huge opportunity for Muslim women. This means changing the social mindset towards women and removing the psychological barriers and roadblocks to women's role in Islamic societies. This, I am sure we can agree, is a global challenge, not just in Islamic world. In Muslim as well as non-Muslim societies, there must be greater acceptance of the notion that women are equal stakeholders in society, and neither democracy nor development can progress without the participation of women. This process of rebalancing, of course, takes time and will not be easy. However, it should be based on the understanding that women do not want to become men, but they simply want the same opportunities as men. Indeed, it is the balance between the masculine and the feminine, the yin and yang, that will make ours a better and stronger world. And finally, perhaps the most promising means for Muslim women to claim their future is to become a voice on their own. That's number 5, voice on their own. There is no shortage of social media tools to help them achieve this goal, from Facebook to Twitter. The impact of this sudden connectivity to human civilizations is enormous. With social media, a person is no longer just an ID number. He or she is an opinion, a hub, a voice. And as we saw in the streets of Cairo last spring, women are using these social media tools to mobilize political change around the world. The dynamics between the role of women, Islam, and democracy in Indonesia remains fluid. Nevertheless, through the unprecedented opportunities that are available to Muslim Indonesian women today, I am more confident than ever that they can flourish together. I hope that you live today with a sense that there is no reason why they cannot flourish together. I'm often asked what the West should understand about the Islamic world. It cannot be answered with a single answer, but I think they must understand that Muslims are worried about the growing trends of Islamophobia. This creates dangerous polarizations which benefits no one. I do not believe that this trend is permanent, but I believe it is reversible. But Muslims cannot push this back alone. We need interfaith and cross-sectoral efforts to cure this problem. You have no idea how much we appreciated the firm message of disagreement that were expressed by the American political establishment and religious leaders against the threat of Quran burning in Florida, a threat which Muslims around the world found very offensive and hurtful. And of course, this is a two-way street. Muslims too must show tolerance and solidarity when other religions are under attack. I end with this note. I was surprised to learn that Islam is one of the fastest growing religions in America. My husband was so delighted when he was invited to an iftar, the breakfasting, at the White House that hosted by President Barack Obama, and many other iftar that hosted by American politicians and officials. It is the best proof that Islam, like other religions, is part of America's heartbeat. America's unflinching commitment to freedom of religion, to multiculturalism, is so inspiring to the world. I think I speak for the world in expressing our hope for America to never let go of this special quality. Indonesia's President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono has spoken of his vision of the 21st century as a century of confluence, between civilizations, religions, and cultures. America is well placed to continue to lead that world of confluence, because that is precisely what America is all about. I thank you.